Ever wondered what lies beneath the waves of Campbell River? Join me as we dive into the haunting remains of the HMCS Columbia. You won't believe what we find down there. Hey everyone, and welcome back to BC Adventures. I just got back from exploring one of the coolest dives I've ever done, the HMCS Columbia in Campbell River. This time around, I had the pleasure of diving with Captain Earl Lowe from Abyssal Diving Charters. He shares some of his fascinating stories of the wreck's history. We even saw a bunch of Puget Sound King Crabs climbing on the wreck. They were hard to identify at first because the color blended in with the wreck, but once we started identifying them, they were everywhere. Oh yeah, and of course, we went even deeper into the ship. We got a real grasp of what nature can do to a massive structure at the bottom of the sea. Alright, enough talking about it. Let's dive in on this week's episode of BC Adventures.
And now it's time for Shipwreck Stories.
We're going up to the HMCS Columbia, part of the Artificial Reef Society, one of the vessels that they sunk. This one, I believe, was sunk around 1996. I was actually there when it sunk. I got to witness it going down. We do have some people that can come up and dive with us that actually served on that ship. Bow is around 120 feet of water. The stern's about 100 feet. It's on a 35-degree list to the port. It's around 366 feet long, which you'd think is a big distance. But actually, when you get down, the Artificial Reef Society, when it sets up where a ship is going to go down, the purpose behind what they do to create a reef where there is not much life already. That area up there was sort of just a muddy bottom, and they have specific rules about where they can go. So it can't be deeper than 120 feet, devoid of much life, creating a reef, and they sink the ship. And then they watch actually to see how it develops and comes along as life starts to get on. It also has to be in an area where there is very little to no current. It has to be a boat dive area. So, how about charter operations? Because the only way you can get there, either having your own boat or a charter operation to take you to them. It's been down there for a while. We actually have cloud sponges on a couple of different spots starting to grow onto the ship itself. It's unique in itself with the life that is growing on there, and over time how the life has changed.
And now on BC Adventures, Deep Dive Discovery.
This is a Puget Sound King Crab. These crabs are pretty rare, so finding one is always exciting. They've even got a cool mix of orange, red, and purple that really stands out, but can help them blend in with rocks or kelp. One thing you'll notice about Puget Sound King Crabs is these blunt bumps all over their shells. They kind of look like they've got armor on, which is super helpful for hiding in rocky areas. These guys can grow pretty big, about 6 to 10 inches across, so they're one of the largest crabs on the west coast. But they're hard to spot because they like to hang out in deeper water, up to about 140 meters, except in the spring when they come up to shallow waters to mate. They also play a big role in the environment, keeping the sea urchin populations in check, which helps kelp forests thrive, yet they're so good at blending in. Pretty amazing, right? And that was our dive at the HMCS Columbia. Every time I go down there, I'm blown away by how much sea life there is. Puget Sound king crabs to cloud sponges, even schools of fish weaving their way through the passageways. It's like nature has taken a piece of history and turned it into its own thriving city. I've got plenty more dives planned, so stick around. There's always something to explore on BC Adventures. And as always, don't forget to take a deep dive on
BC Adventures!